us know if they've got us all good, because I like to think that we said something so important that Facebook decided to censor us, and I don't think that's the case, but I'd like to think that's the case. But if someone can jump in the comments and just let
give
us
me
know
2 seconds, and I'll
if we're actually going out or not. Are we live at the moment?
Yeah, it says we're live.
Oh. Yeah, I've got unless we've lost everyone watching. Which might be the case.
We probably have everyone probably dropped off, I imagine, if that was the case. Okay, We're live on YouTube, which is good. And then
cool.
But I can't see
everyone. We're just sorting this out. We've one thing we've noticed in this pandemic is that potty mouths. We're back.
We're back.
I'm sorry for that, everybody. We're not sure what's going on. The technology to do this, actually, like everything, is evolving with the development of a vaccine.
We've come back and we've swapped sides.
No, it's not foolproof. As we're rapidly learning. So I'm gonna actually, you know what? I criticize the South Australian Tourism Commission, and I'm gonna just let's just say that there's someone has gone we've been censored for
report.
But no, my point I was making for those, we're just having a conversation about just replying to Darren Gerlach's comment about how getting how the Adelaide 500 event would be massively improved by having historic demonstrations of these cars. And I was sort of making the point that I was lucky enough to work at Goodwood, and the people that put the Goodwood grids together are just the most incredibly passionate and knowledgeable motorsport enthusiasts I've ever met in my life. Like their knowledge is so deep, and they know so much about, and I don't know where we cut off, so apologies if I'm repeating myself, but genuinely, like I heard them talking about, the drivers' wives and the drivers' children's, and Brazilian Grand Prix 1974 results, and like their knowledge is that deep, and that's how they put those grids together and they assemble those cars, is because they know so much about what makes a good grid and what cars need to be there for particular anniversaries and for particular things. And I think that for whatever reason, for the last couple of years, the organising committee at the Adelaide 500 just hasn't had that depth of knowledge, which is kind of how you've ended up with some of the grids and the races there. And hey, if
bring Asian Audi Le Mans, R8 Le Mans series or whatever it is.
And it just doesn't quite make sense. So I think really that event, if it's going to get back, it needs to have South Australian Motorsport Board, these the people that dealt with Bernie Eccleston back in the day and getting the Grand Prix, like those people exist and they are in Adelaide and they would love to be involved. Like getting them involved in that event again, I think would be the first step. So
WRC Adelaide
and WRC Adelaide too.
Imagine if you did special stage WRC using Victoria Park.
Oh, it'd be amazing. Yeah.
It'd be amazing.
Yeah. Imagine
you get them lapping through the parklands next to the. You know how they do the international horse event where they do like the international 3-day or whatever.
The 3-day,
use that track that they use for their parading around.
Water splashes.
Yeah. Go right through the middle of all the fringe crew, like go through the garden.
Oh, I'd love that. They'd love that. I just love that.
Bang, 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 bang. Anti-lag.
What they need is more anti-lag.
I feel like the fringe community does not have enough anti-lag in their lives. Yes. Imagine.
That's a tough argument to have.
That would be pretty cool. You could do a very cool special stage in the parklands.
Yeah, you could.
You could have all the grandstands there, pit stands, double thing,
Do you remember 1997 Classic Adelaide Rally had a special stage around Victoria Park? 1997, the very first Classic Adelaide Rally had a special stage around Victoria Park, and it used parts of the F1 track, but it also used a lot of the access roads and the service roads around the kind of area to build a stage. True story.
I don't remember that.
You were, I don't know, I was 9 at the time. So you would have been 15, 16 at the time. So you would have
11. Come on, man. I'm not that old. There's a bit of grey coming out, white pointing out, but yes, no, not that old.
No. But yeah, Dan, I'm so sorry we lost the last stream because we're having a really good chat. We had some comments there that we were looking to get back to, but they're all gone now. So
I could probably bring back some of them. They're probably still on.
I think we addressed a lot, but yeah. Anyway, I think Australian motorsport's in a good position, really. And yeah, you know what?
What?
Here's a question. What are the chances? And this is obviously not a question for you; it's more a question for various other people, but. Adelaide Motorsport Festival, it has to make a comeback. Has to. The demand is there for it. It fits the community aspect of it really well. I think a lot of what people like about events like the Classic Adelaide Rally is seeing all the old cars. They like being, I had one of those, or my friend had one of those. Like they really like the nostalgia element. And I think old cars, people who are maybe casual observers in motorsport can connect with old cars a lot more than they can with modern racing cars. And I think that makes an event like the Motorsport Festival kind of almost more palatable for the general public. Like it makes it a bit more accessible because you don't need to be super nerdy to look at an old 80s F1 car and notice that it's different to a modern car, like
I think, yeah. And I think also part of that history of having how big F1 was in Adelaide, like it was an all-encompassing thing. Everybody loved it and was there, and it was a huge thing. And I really think there's a part of the older generation wanting to share that down too. So, like, imagine, let's just say 30 years from now being able to go and be like, oh yeah, I remember at Clipsal 500 when that happened and I saw that car there. Like, you get really passionate and excited about that kind of thing. Yeah. So I definitely think that with AMF, there's a huge element of that too, and being able to go, oh yeah, I remember watching that car on the grid in Adelaide in 1986 and this happened and that happened and all that kind of stuff. It's definitely a cool thing.
You already see that nostalgia now. There's a lot of people restoring their sort of early to mid 2000s V8 supercars. Now I notice I'm a massive fan of V8 Sleuth on Facebook, and you see the old chassis coming up and they pop up in places, and
this has been a shed in Warrnambool for 30 years.
Yeah. I saw one the other day, and I had this thought that would be just such a cool weekend car / track car / Adelaide Rally car / Cars and Coffees car, inspired by all of the people in England and around the world, that are kind of starting to get some of the GT cars road registered, which is a bit dodgy, but it can be done, especially in the UK. It can be done.
Yeah,
but like there's a couple of.
Can you imagine? Speaking of, can you imagine trying to get through like the pits here, like trying to go over the pits here with something like that? Have a heart attack. The dudes are just all drop dead. What are you trying to do?
But no, there's a couple of guys who've got.
Yes.
But there's a couple of guys who've got 360 challenges on the road in the UK, and actually, Mark Scene Media on Instagram is a solid follow. Like that thing just sounds insane. But anyway, that's not my point. My point is
not a bad camera car too.
Yeah. Could you take, and what is actually stopping this from happening? Because I've tried to look into it and I can't think of a reason why you couldn't do this. Could you take a V8 supercar shell from the 90s? I'm thinking VS Commodore, VN Commodore, kind of that era where they was proper Holden Racing Team built V8 supercars, but not super insane racing cars that were still, 3 pedals, H pattern gearboxes, that relatively basic roll cage by today's standards. Could you take that shell and then could you put in a V8 that sounds like the real deal but maybe is a bit more tractable and a bit more sort of long lasting? Could you put a suspension in that maybe pop the ride height up a little bit but make it still nice? And could you get it registered as a tarmac rally car, like on a rally reg?
You could probably do a rally reg, but I still don't know if you need compliance plate for that or not, and that's the issue with those shells. They've got like. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
and I can't remember with Rally Reg or not if you need a compliance plate. I think they suck about it here in Adelaide if you don't have a compliance plate.
Could you just
grab one from a VPSS or something? Yeah,
put a compliance plate onto it.
Get a VP exec, one owner or something, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I
put a roll cage in my
I feel like that era though, like you could get enough parts to build something cool like that without having to do that.
Yeah.
I know it's the aspect of like having that car away.
The car. Because where I was going with this is that, you know, I'm just super inspired in Japan where the guys take, you know, the 90s Le Mans GT1s and road drive them. And Jordan Roddy's spoken about that, you know. I mean, his Murcielago GT1 that he restored became on the podcast. That was kind of someone had started a road conversion on that car in Japan. And I just go, how freaking cool would it be to turn up to Adelaide Rally or turn up to a Cars and Coffee or to go and do an event like that in a car that actually raced at Bathurst? Like, it's not just a Commodore.
Got the Enforcer's car.
Yeah, seriously, could you imagine that?
Yeah,
that would just be cool. The coolest thing in the world. And I have not been. I don't think about sort of, you know, Australian V8s that much, but I've not been able to stop thinking about that for quite a while. I think it would be a very, very cool.
Imagine rocking up like summer nats in it too. That'd be pretty cool. Slang skids.
Can you imagine? Everyone's like, nice VS. And you're like, yeah, it finished like 12th at Bathurst in 1996. That would be... Anyway.
Would be cool.
Mm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, people, if you want us to try and do that, buy the Sports Car Safari t-shirts, buy the stickers, order the magazines, a lot of them, and maybe we can put together a fund to get a 90s Bathurst Commodore or Falcon on the road.
It's like when you go to, like, it's almost like as bad as when you go to a cafe and there's like barista's retirement fund thing.
Yeah.
Don't think you're going to get there.
Yeah.
Actually,
any profits derived from Sports Car Safari will be used for cool things. I can say that. Anyway, so we've got the strictest screen. I may or may not be looking at an older Yaris and turning it into as much of a rally car as possible to drive on the road before it gets defected, and then turn it into a full dedicated rally car. You can have a lot of fun in those. I would, yeah.
Speaking of, on Supercar Spotters, or was it Adelaide Car Spotters or Adelaide? What's he called on Instagram? Adelaide something.
There's a couple. Adelaide Car Spotters? Or the other one?
The other one. Adelaide Car Spotters. He had, there was some pictures of Tom's GR Yaris. Which out the front of Adelaide Hills.
Adelaide Hills Toyota. So Tom has one. Just in time for lockdown. Wow, I was going to
too bad I can't go get it.
Get out there and drive it before he sells it. Yeah. I'm very excited about those. I'm very, very excited.
They've been having some pretty mad reviews.
Yeah.
Coming from overseas at the moment. Because have they just launched? Have they been like global same time? Have they?
I think they have within a week or so. Yeah, I was quite surprised that the dealers in Adelaide were getting them because we know a few people that work at CMI Toyota in Adelaide, and they were doing the pre-deliveries on their GR Yaris's at about the same time that sort of all news were coming out of Europe. So I think they must have had a global embargo, and yeah, I think they're a very cool thing. I must admit, if anyone hasn't sort of read any of the reviews or listened to podcasts on the GR Yaris, I think the Drive Nation podcast, their review on the GR Yaris is brilliant. I've kind of got quite obsessed lately with the Late Break Show with Johnny Smith, but he has done a brilliant review of it too. And I didn't realize that the only parts that GR Yaris shares with the normal Yaris are the headlights and the windscreen wipers. The rest of it is
dash.
Yeah. The roof, it's a different shell. The roof line is different. So the story behind it, forgive me if I'm repeating this if anyone's heard it, is it is a true homologation special. It was designed, basically, Gazoo Racing were planning to build a 2020 WRC car to homologate it. So they built the GR Yaris with a different shell, and the rear roof line is, I think it's 30 mil. It's a lot lower than normal Yaris. The rear roof line slopes down, and they did that because then they could mount a spoiler at the back and get more spoiler off the back of it.
Right.
Rally car. Obviously, with COVID and the pandemic, they then pulled the pin on the rally car, so they're actually rallying their last year's car this year. So they kind of stopped development of the new car, but they pressed ahead with the GR Yaris road car anyway. So it didn't end up rallying, but it is a genuine, legit homologation car. And as a result, the shell is different. It's a bespoke engine. The drivetrain is all bespoke. The panels are different. Like it's not really a Yaris. Like it has a Yaris badge and Yaris headlights, but other than that, it's not really a Yaris at all. And
Wow.
yeah, that's very, very cool. And,
Yeah, tell me about it. This sounds epic.
And Luke, I would, if I were you, I'd be calling our good mate Tom Gilbert and securing your first post-lockdown drive, because I guarantee they're going to sell that demo in no time.
Yeah. Well, maybe I need to go get my perm out, get some curls, and go and do a review video.
Yeah, you could do that. Why not?
Could do. Go do Loberthal Road.
15 minutes.
15 minutes of fame. I dare say I'd be just as, if not more, awkward than you.
Not possible.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's pretty exciting.
So yeah, well, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm trying to think what we've got to cover. We've
that's about all we needed to. Yeah,
it's been a good chat. We would be saying, I feel a bit bittersweet. We would be saying, see you at the Adelaide Rally on the stages, but we would
be saying no podcast next weekend. No podcast next week because we're too busy doing photos. But
we had the stage sponsorship lined up for Mount Lofty. We had the signs in production, the whole works, and yeah, we'll have to hold that one over. But I think it's obviously the right thing to do. So no complaints here.
Yeah, it's all good. We'll be right. Cool, man.
So I guess in the meantime, at Sports Car Safari on Instagram, a follow does mean a lot. Issue 4 is in the shop at the moment, sportscarsafari.com/shop. Order your mag if you haven't got it. You just pay for postage, grab a sticker or something while you're there. What else do we need to plug?
Actually, that's a good excuse to get out in the GDV again.
You
need to go to the post office.
You actually can go to the post office.
Yeah, post office is open. So.
Yeah, so there you go.
Essential postage.
And I don't know. We might look to what we can do next week. I guess your lockdown will be ending soon, won't it? So we don't really need to plan more streaming. But anyway, we'll think about
we'll see what happens this week and see how we go the next few days. See what happens.
But no, it's actually really good. We've got some good guests that we've been kind of talking to for the podcast. But obviously, in the madness of the rally and the madness of all the prep, it's kind of hasn't really been first priority. But now with no rally, I think we can get on to getting some good guests on. And there's some really interesting ones in the pipeline. So yeah, stay tuned. So,
cool.
Well, thank you everybody. We'll see you next week.
And I'll try and put the two videos together.
So we have one continuous
thing and repost it again.
Thank you everyone for tuning back in.